Have you ever noticed yourself getting caught up in a new relationship, so much caught up that you were reading into every text, you were second guessing your words, or you're feeling more invested than the other person seems to be? If you're into personal growth, you probably already have a great level of self awareness. Maybe you recognize these patterns and you've tried to work through them, but when emotions get involved, it still can feel like it's been hard to actually change how you responded in the moment. And that's not because there's something wrong with you, it's because shifting anxious attachment patterns, it's not about understanding the theory. It's about working with your nervous system and reshaping how you experience connection. Hi, I'm Kaylee Larkin, and I help people to break free from anxious attachment patterns and attract the secure and fulfilling relationships they desire. And in this video, we're going to break down 5 signs of anxious attachment in dating, especially for those of you who are already self-aware and doing the work. And towards the end of this video, I'm going to share a resource that can help, which is my Secure Love Toolkit. It's designed to help you recognize secure partners and shift anxious attachment patterns so that you can attract the relationship that you truly want. So let's start with sign number 1, and that is that you attach quickly even before you know if they're right for you. And this one can be tricky to recognize because it doesn't feel like rushing. It feels like you finally met someone who makes you light up, who gets you in a way that maybe other people haven't. And that connection can feel so natural that naturally you want to hold on to it. But here's what's happening under the surface. If you lean anxious, then your attachment system is scanning for relational stability and scanning for emotional security early. And the moment that someone shows interest, your brain starts filling in the blanks, like imagining how great it could be. And in a way, you emotionally invest before you've actually had enough information about whether they are a good fit for you. And you might find yourself daydreaming about your future together or reading deep meaning into early signs of compatibility or feeling extremely affected by their behavior, even if you've only known them for, a short period of time. So this is really about having some self-compassion and recognizing when your attachment system is fast-tracking connection, sort of zooming towards connection, instead of pacing it naturally. So the second sign is that you overfunction in relationships. You put effort into understanding yourself in your relationships, which is fantastic because it helps to build something healthy and meaningful. That's a strength. But sometimes anxious attachment leads you to take on more responsibility for keeping the connection stable. Maybe you find yourself being the one who initiates most of the conversation or makes all of the plans, and you're hyper attuned to your partner's moods and needs. So you're adjusting, you're accommodating, and you're trying to smooth things over so that, conflict doesn't arise. And at first, this might feel like being thoughtful or just being really invested in the relationship. But over time, it can turn into a sort of over-functioning, where not only are you managing your own emotions, but you're trying to manage theirs. And sometimes this happens at the expense of your own needs. So one way to notice this pattern is to ask yourself, do I feel like I'm earning consistency and affection? Do I feel anxious when I don't put in extra effort? And if the answer is yes, this might be a sign of anxious attachment at work. So as we go through these 5 signs, I'd love to hear which ones resonate with you the most. And if you'd like, please drop a comment below as we go, what feels the most familiar in your dating experiences. So the third sign is you feel drawn to potential over reality. And this is where anxious attachment and deep emotional sensitivity meet, because you don't just see people for who they are. You can see their depth, you can see their wounds and their capacity for love. That's a beautiful quality. But sometimes it leads you to hold on to relationships that aren't actually secure or fulfilling. just because you believe in who this person can become. And so you might find yourself thinking things like, gosh, they have so much potential if they would just work through their fears, or like, when it's good, it's really good. I just need to be patient through the hard parts. Or they struggle with communication, but like, I can tell deep down that they really care. But the problem is that potential doesn't create a secure relationship. The secure patterns do. And so the way someone consistently shows up, the way that they handle conflict, the way that they treat you when things aren't going perfectly, that's what determines relational security. So if you often feel deeply attached to this idea of who someone could be rather than the reality of how they're actually showing up, it's worth slowing down and asking, okay, am I building something stable, or am I hoping that they'll change? The fourth sign is that uncertainty triggers some deep anxiety. So for people with anxious attachment, uncertainty isn't just like a little bit uncomfortable. It can feel like an emotional threat. And that's because at one time it was a threat to survival when people were babies and they needed to know that the connection was stable in order to get food. So you may be able to handle a clear yes and be able to handle a clear no, but that in-between part with the mixed signals and the slow replies, that I'm not ready for a relationship yet, but I like you, that kind of stuff, that's what can leave you in a loop. And this isn't because you're insecure or needy. It's because your nervous system is wired to seek connection. And when that connection doesn't feel stable, your body is interpreting it as a danger, as like triggering anxiety and overthinking and an urge to fix it. And so this is why anxious attachment can sometimes lead to anxious texting, or like immediately wanting the other person to tell you it's okay, like that instant reassurance. Or even pushing for clarity too quickly, because the unknown is so uncomfortable that even a painful truth feels better than waiting in limbo. So if this resonates, one of the most powerful shifts that you can make is learning how to self-regulate in those moments when it's uncertain. So when you can ground yourself without needing that immediate external reassurance, then you start to depend less on someone else's responses to help you to feel okay. And co-regulation, which is when we soothe our partner and they soothe us in relationship, that's great. And absolutely, like, I think that we should seek relationships that have that and learn those skills. And it's really helpful to be able to soothe ourselves so that we're not depending on someone else to feel all right. So sign number 5 is that you rely on reassurance to regulate emotions. And you're self-aware enough to know that you seek reassurance. Like maybe you even tried to self-soothe instead of reaching out. But in moments where you had relational anxiety, that reassurance doesn't just feel like a nice to have, it's a need to have. Like it feels necessary to calm down. And this is because anxious attachment often develops when we've experienced inconsistent attunement in the past. So when reassurance is available, it tells the nervous system you're safe, everything's okay. But when it's missing or delayed, it can trigger, a sense of self-doubt or anxiety or withdrawal. And so the key isn't to stop needing reassurance entirely. It's just to start to shift how you receive it. So when you can create an internal sense of safety alongside that external support, you can start to feel more secure in your connections rather than dependent on the incoming reassurance. So if you see yourself in these patterns, you're not alone, and most importantly, you're not stuck there. Anxious attachment isn't just a label, it's a learned pattern, and of course anything that's learned can be unlearned. So the key is not just understanding the theory, but actually shifting how your nervous system is responding in relationships so that you can experience connection from this place of security rather than fear. And if you want to start making that shift, I have a resource that can help. It's called the Secure Love Toolkit, and it's designed specifically for people with anxious attachment who want to feel calmer and more confident and more secure in dating. And you can check it out in the link in the description for this video. And before you go, if you would like to let me know in the comments which of these signs resonated with you the most. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Hit that like and subscribe if you want to help me reach more people. And this is Kaylee Larkin, wishing you a beautiful relational journey.